Hi there, it's Hal Feldman, MiamiHal, and this is the MiamiHal Real Estate Show. As always, each and every week, we have a great topic and a great speaker. Today is no exception. Tamara Mourino is with an insurance company. We're going to let her introduce herself in just a moment. But as you can imagine, in real estate, there's all kinds of factors that change the market. Obviously, interest rates are very much concerned these days, the amount of inventory. And if you own a home or you're planning on buying a home, insurance is the next thing that's probably on your mind. So, Tamara, tell us where you're from, what you do, and why you're here.
Well, good afternoon. First of all, and thank you for having me again,
Sure.
Hal. It's been a year, I guess, exactly
Just
since
about
I've
a year.
been here,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So, where I'm from, I'm originally from Cuba. I was born and raised there. I came when I was about 18 years old. And ever since, I've been helping clients with their insurance needs. So, very proud to be an insurance agent and being able to help and service my clients.
Now, we're today going to talk about insurance that covers homes and structures, but you do more than that, right?
Yes. I actually help my clients with all lines of insurance, basically from automobile insurance, homeowners, that includes condominiums, personal umbrellas, personal life insurance, health insurance, and also commercial, including cyber security, general liability, workers' compensation. Again, we're basically like a full stop, one-stop shop for different insurance needs that our clients may have.
And full disclosure, I use your services as well. So,
and I appreciate that. Thank you, Hal.
Of course. We're all about community, and we should be looking local to do business. And this is a great person to do business with. So before we really get into the interview, I want to remind our audience that we are on social media. It's live. So if you've got a box in front of you and you have a question as we go through the interview, please type it. We'll be glad to get that answered for you today. So, Tamara, I am particularly interested today in what's going on with the overall market for insurance, because homeowners are seeing staggering bill increases year to year. And I'm going to kind of expand on that thought because I live in a condo, and our condo saw an incredible increase as well. And so what we're having to do at our particular condominium is to have an assessment simply to cover the insurance premium and the fact that it went up 30% since last year. So there's sensitivity, and people that have been homeowners are finding it harder and harder to pay the bills that they need to stay where they are. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And why don't we talk in general, what kind of coverage people should have, and then we'll talk about what's going on with the insurance companies and why it's so hard to either get or keep that insurance. Tell me.
That's my day-to-day.
Exactly. That's why we're having you share your expertise. So please.
Yes. Well, like I mentioned to you, almost 30 years helping clients. And by far, obviously, this is the hardest time we've seen. And it's heartbreaking because obviously it's very difficult to tell a client something that, especially the ones that cannot afford it. Our seniors that are on, retirement income and things like that. So those are actually the hardest hit, and the ones that I crave for. I'm very sensitive to those, especially. In terms of what's happening, it's just an array of factors. It's multiple factors. Some of them you've probably heard in the news. Unfortunately, I don't follow too much the news because, owning a business during these times is very, very, it takes so much time, because sometimes you work 14 hours a day, just trying to contact your clients and tell them exactly, what's happening and how we can help. But in essence, it's it has been, it's not something that happened overnight. This is something that's been happening technically for the last 6 years. We have been seeing how the market has becoming very frail. we saw this coming. When I say we're talking about insurance agents, insurance companies, some especially in our Miami-Dade County area and the Tri-County, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, we're seeing a huge increase in, in litigation, unnecessary litigation that's really driving the rates. So that's one of the big changes that I think with the new legislative, not just the one that just passed, but the one prior in July of 2021, that it's really going to take effect and it's going to really help. Because a lot of companies are able to exclude, certain things on their policies. For instance, you have no right to retain a console, which again, it sounds really, really bad because obviously
Yeah.
we want to have that right. But unfortunately, insurance companies cannot afford it because in many cases, you claim $10,000 and the other, your console, it's getting 100, 200,000, millions of dollars are paying litigation unnecessary.
So you've kind of gotten to the punchline before we got to
because that's the
setup.
biggest, that's the one
great.
that's
No.
the heartbreaking to me, because
Yeah.
I see it day in and day out where you have clients that, let's say, will have a claim and they got I actually had one yesterday, $147,000 that she actually got. And she told me, I don't need to fix anything. I'm just gonna,
Wow.
I don't need to fix anything. I said, are you gonna return the money? Because you don't need to fix. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm gonna make a pool and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And how do you handle that? How do you handle that? We're all sharing this responsibility, and unfortunately, it's not gonna go away. So companies have to take, charge and doing that. And in that way, they're hurting all of us because obviously insurance companies have to look at their bottom line at the end of the day. And you need to be able to defend yourself in certain scenarios if you need to. Now that's taken away from us, and little by little more companies are going to continue doing that one way or another. Even if you don't see it on the policy language, it is there.
So let me do a rewind, because you that was a mouthful and you got to the punchline pretty quickly. The rewind on this, folks, is that let's start with car insurance. You have car insurance, there's a rate. And everybody knows that has car insurance, if you have an accident, then your rates are going to go up, because it's almost a one-to-one relationship. What you've done with your vehicle and how responsible you are is very easy to track. The costs are pretty even across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And there probably is very little fighting when you have a claim with cars in general.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's a fair statement?
Yes.
When we start talking about homes, it's a different ball game, because as I understand it, and I hope you're going to either tell me I'm right or you'll correct me, is that you have a home and let's say all of a sudden you notice there's mold in the house because there's a slow leak and you didn't even know the leak was happening, but you eventually find mold. And you got somebody that comes out, they open up the wall and, oh my gosh, look what's going on behind here that you didn't know. There are many ways in which you could resolve that issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do resolve it, there's already some question between potentially the way that you did it and the way that insurance wanted you to do it in order to have a fair claim. Level one of a potential problem, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Level two is it's not necessarily a one-to-one relationship. If I have no claims, my home insurance is likely to go up regardless.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a claim, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm instantly going to get an increase on my insurance either, because as I have been explained by you,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what I do in my home, it's what the area and how the insurance companies see risk in that area that affect the insurance rates. Is that correct?
That is exactly correct.
So, very different animal between car insurance and home insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And you hit the punchline. I would expect if I have home insurance and I have no claims and the rates go up, I would think that the justification for that rate increase should be that my neighbors, the people in that neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
area, have had more claims, and therefore the insurance company says, hey, we've paid out more, so we have to ask all the people to
Mm-hmm.
share in that.
Right.
But that's not what's happening. It's not about how insurance companies are paying out claims. It's the fact that there's so much litigation that the litigation costs are maybe even eclipsing the payouts of the claims, right?
Yes.
So we have a large dilemma. I assume it's across the country, but you're probably going to tell me it's different here, right?
Yes. Yes.
Tell
Actually,
me
they
why
say
it's different here.
why? Oh my God.
Or,
It's a whole different.
maybe not,
No,
but
no.
some of the
I can
facts
get to it.
behind
I
that.
can get to
I
that.
think this is intriguing
You
and
know me
angering.
enough to know that I
Yeah.
speak my mind, and
Please.
you know,
And that's what we want our audience to
so
hear.
97% of claims, and
Yeah.
I am not big in this percentage or that percentage, but almost 97% or 97% of the claims are all that are litigated are all in the Tri-County, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Why? Does that mean that the insurance companies treat us different than the rest of the country? Or is it that we're trying to take advantage of a certain situation?
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe, unfortunately, the fact that we're so mixed, which is amazing because I personally am Cuban, born Cuban, but I'm actually an American. I apologize for that.
No apologies necessary.
No, but again, you know, I came from that system
Yeah.
where it was okay to do certain things to, you know, live comfortably off others, you know, and unfortunately, that's what we are in this new generation that we're creating, you know, in our area, we're creating that. And we're hurting the rest of the state and the country as well, you know,
Yeah.
because the people in other state, in other parts of Florida, they're suffering our consequences, you know. I had a client in Mount Dora, which we don't have those issues. They were paying $1,500 in insurance. And now, because they have to share the risk of the people down here, what we're doing down here, she now has to pay $2,700, which still is nothing compared to what we pay down here. But still, why does she have to pay for the, I would say, inefficiencies of our system, you know? So I think it's going to get better, honestly. I've been going to, actually, this is my third convention. I've been talking to many company partners, and I'm very involved. I'm always asking questions as to why and how do you foresee. And I actually talk to clients too. I like to talk to my clients, say, why did you do this? And what I see is it's a little bit more positive news ahead, especially, you know, some think after the election in November, there's going to be some, you know, more or better legislative or better push to control a little bit this situation that we have. How, I don't know. I am not that high up to be able to disclose or even know, but it's just that there is a lot of you know, a lot of people in Tallahassee. Many of them are driven by attorneys that they want to continue this, and they have the deep pockets to pay for this, but they don't realize that their parents don't, and their parents are being pushed from Florida, you know, because they're in fixed income, and many, like my dad, will not take a dime from me.
So again, let's do a little rewind. You said you weren't quite sure why our three counties that you named, Miami-Dade,
I already covered,
and Palm Beach, right? Those are the three that seem to be different somehow, right?
Immigration.
Okay. Yeah. You're saying immigration. I'm gonna suggest something a little different. We had Hurricane Andrew. Now that's almost 30 years ago at this
92.
point, right? 30 years ago.
Exactly.
And I wasn't living here at the time, but I heard so many stories about what people did with insurance. First of all, the county was not prepared, right? So we have this massive hurricane that comes through, and there really wasn't proper documentation nor a mentality to document what the condition of a home was prior to a hurricane and after. And as soon as Andrew devastated the area, we didn't even have the technology anywhere close to what we have today. The county was overwhelmed with people trying to do permits, trying to do cleaning, trying to do this. And that was, I wouldn't say botched. They just didn't have the resources to do it right.
Right.
And so people started to realize that these insurance companies, and they were paying insurance premiums, were essentially handing out money, saying, hey, we don't want to hassle you. We're trying to be good citizens of the world. And you've had a devastating loss. So what's it going to cost for you to redo this? And I almost felt like the stories I'm hearing was like printing money. Hey, you know what? I really only had $20,000 worth of damage, but I'm going to claim 100. And they were getting it.
Right.
So the insurance companies, in a small way, contributed to the greed that some people in our society had.
Mhm.
And they expect that to keep going on and on and on and on. And here we are
Mhm.
30 years later. And you just, at the beginning of the show, I didn't ask you, you brought up somebody that claimed 134,000 or got
147,
what,
147,000.
$147,000 on a claim that you knew she shouldn't have gotten that. And you even asked her, well, why are you keeping that money? And she said, well, I'm going to put it in a pool.
Yeah. And
That's crazy, right?
yeah.
So the rest of us, hopefully the rest of us are the more law-abiding,
Mhm.
understanding people, the people that want to do it right, are paying for these people. And again, the insurance companies are A, not writing policies in our area because of this behavior,
Mhm.
and B, they're punishing the good people. And as you said, in particular, the folks that are retired that can't afford these increases are literally being pushed out of their homes.
Exactly.
My God, what do we do from here? This is awful.
I personally think that, like I said, there is a positive outlook. It's going to take time, but still, the rates are going to continue to increase. There was some mind-boggling number that they gave me that insurance is going to double in 7 years, and I was like, "What?"
Well, they're
Down
not
here
going to have
especially.
anybody paying that because they're not going to, they can't afford to be insured, right?
Exactly. So again, you hear from all sides different things, and at the end of the day, it comes down to we have to make sure that we protect our way of life, and our way of life includes not just what we pay at the grocery or the gas, but it's also be able to maintain
Sure.
a home that you have dignity, because when you're older, and think about that, in 20 years I'll be in the retirement mode, so I want to be able to stay in my home, and that's really what it's all about. So I don't want to have to be living with my children, or having to sell my home and move away from the city that I've lived, and I
Yeah.
decide I want to live in. So um,
Okay. You had helped me and collaborated on an article that's currently in the Pinecrest Tribune. So if you want to know more about this, you may want to check out the article that's in this issue of the Pinecrest Tribune. You had told me, and it's outside the article, that you get things in the mail that kind of irk you, that are related to the insurance, and you actually go and turn these companies in.
mhm.
So I think this is an interesting facet to what's going on in our insurance industry, and what's going on to homeowners. So talk to me about what you do and why you do it.
Well, I think I have a responsibility, not just towards my clients, but in general to the people of our county and our state, to report people that are doing wrong or illegal things. And I think, actually, like a couple days ago, I just got um, two roof solicitations. Like your neighbor is getting a free roof, you can get a free roof. Um, the fact of the matter is that obviously there's no free roof because you have a deductible, and that's one of the things that have changed in this recent legislative session that they had, where you have to pay your deductible. So I'm sure there's going to be new ideas as to how to circumvent that law, but they cannot say free anymore.
So
And
this is really advertising, and you don't. My assumption is you don't believe this is like meant to specifically be illegal or quasi illegal, but it's meant to draw people in to use their services. A roofer.
yes and no, because really, when you call this roofer, they will add that deductible. Let's say it's $12,000 or $10,000, or some people it's $50,000 onto the total bill.
Oh my
So
God.
technically, you don't pay your deductible, and that's why they call it free. They were getting away with that for 6 years. Okay, that's going to stop. And like I said, every time, and I urge everybody that receives some kind of, I would say, any kind of advertising regarding a free something, to question it and call your agent and say, hey, how do I do this? You can go into the Department of Insurance site, take a picture. It's very easy right now. Take a picture, upload it, so that they have track of this, bad actors. Because again, it's illegal, and it's costing all of us a lot of money.
But first of all, thank you as a citizen for doing that. But what you're asking right now of the rest of us
Consumers
is to take time out of our already busy days to turn something in that often, at least I feel, I've done that from time to time, not specifically what you're asking, but other things where I feel like, hey, I'm contributing to getting things to be the right way, but it ends up feeling like it's falling into a black hole. Do you actually get a response from the government?
No, and it's
Okay.
not about getting a response. It's about them, receiving. And that's another thing that's changing right now, where, if you report certain things, it's going to go in a pile, but eventually that pile is going to be, you know, like separated, and they're going to go after these people, because that's
Right.
actually, there's a huge task force right now, because again, that's another thing, if you don't have the resources to deal with the situation, then there's no accountability. So now there's a task force associated with reporting. So I do see, and again, I don't expect anybody to return to me. It's just, this is information for them. It's the same as if I see something that it's illegal dumping. You just send what you see, and that's it.
Right.
You don't expect to get, I mean, I don't do anything expecting to get a reward. And again, that's just
Well, not
me.
necessarily a reward, but at least some recognition that, hey, we heard you, and you're not getting that, but
But
you're saying with the task force, it's being heard.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And another thing is, like, when there's claims right now, and that's something new with the legislative change that was passed, actually, that every claim is going to be basically recorded. It's kind of like the DMV, like the Department of Motor Vehicle, that the Department of Insurance is going to be able to see your claim, and all the companies will be able to see that. Right now, I have a few companies that do that already, which is called a clue report, where you can see the amount of claims that you've had, even if it's not even if it's not yours, the house, like the history of the house. That would be really good, because the companies could really see, do I want to take on this risk? If you had that client that got $147,000 in a payout, okay,
And then 2
and
months later,
then
they have a pool in the
didn't,
backyard.
and then they have another claim,
Yeah.
then they go back to it. It's kind of like the same as on auto. When you have an auto claim, and that happens a lot, people, let's say,
Will drop you.
reports an injury,
Yeah.
and then they have another accident 3 months ago and reports the same injury, and say, wait a minute, this injury was already handled here.
Yeah.
So again, it's going to be a little bit better moving forward with these changes. It's not going to be overnight, but I'm hopeful. It has to be. I have to remain positive.
So you have to be, as you just said, positive about the industry, because
Mhm.
you're helping people when you do find
Yeah.
and match them to an insurance policy that gives them coverage.
Mhm.
So somebody walks into your office or calls or emails you and says, "Hey, I just moved into the area, or I have a car, and I want you to help me with this." You go through the process, and I know personally that you do a great job of that.
Yes, we did.
And then they have a claim, and what should they expect, because now they're paying higher and higher and higher rates.
Mhm.
What should they expect from the insurance company? Because you just spent about 20 minutes already talking about why the industry should be afraid of us,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
As a collective. But what should we expect from them when we really do need to count on them, and are they performing the way that they should?
I can tell you that by experience,
Mhm.
okay, when you have an honest claim, I always tell, if you have an honest claim,
Mhm.
they perceive that, okay, and they know, and they even send you, just take pictures and send it, and they'll pay. Um, I see the payouts, I attach it to the file, I email the client. So I haven't had really any case where a client can really honestly tell me, oh, they're not doing the right thing. I did have a friend of mine that she told me, Tamara, I called the adjuster, and I remember I was in Tallahassee during that time, during the legislative session, and she told me, Tamara, I called the adjuster 3 times and they haven't returned my call. And I said, let me put in a call. I don't expect a call back from them, but I will expect they will call you. Sure enough, 2 days later, I checked with her and said, no, it's okay. They sent somebody over, because you need a supplement. And she's a fellow insurance, all the insurance agent too. She did not use adjusters. There's no need to use adjuster. You just need your old way of doing claims. You report your claim to your insurance company. If you have, if you're actually expecting to collect what you're entitled to, if you want more money, if you want to, you know, commit fraud, basically. That's what it is. Because
Mhm.
one penny more that does not belong to you is fraud in my eyes and in the eyes of the world. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting to collect what you're entitled to, no need to call anybody. You call the insurance company, they'll send the first one. The first adjustment is always going to be wrong, because I told you last time I was here.
Yeah.
You go to a car, you open the car, it's different. You could do a construction, they find something different. You send a settlement, and then they'll go out again, they'll inspect it, they estimated the amount, they'll pay the balance, and that's it. That's
Right.
the end of it, you know?
That's the way it
So,
should be.
and that's the way, the fastest way. Now, you hire a third party, the longer they drag that claim, the more money they make. You make less money because at the end of the day, money, the value of money is less every time.
Right.
So you have claims from, let's say, 5 years ago, the attorney is going to get a lot of money, but you're still going to get your same settlement. Is that going to be able to replace or buy you the same products and services or the same repair that you had 5 years ago?
Well, especially
Impossible.
now, definitely
So
not.
again, it doesn't take
Yeah.
it doesn't take a somebody so smart to actually realize that. It's just that it takes somebody to really tell them, because we live so busy down here. We're always so busy. We don't have time to stop and realize those little details that I'm telling you right now. And that's what I do with my clients. I educate them and I give them the option. Whatever the option they decide, I am okay with that.
Okay. We've got a few minutes left, and I want to ask you something that is confusing to me, and I'm sure confusing to others. We always hear, whether we read it or hear it on the news, that a lot of insurance companies don't write policies in South Florida, and in particular on windstorm. So I had a great insurance company for my home insurance, and I couldn't get them to write a policy for windstorm. So I had to go to Citizens Property Insurance Company. And that's what it's named, Citizens Property Insurance Company. Yet, in an interview with you and understanding others, Citizens is not really an insurance company, is it?
No.
So first of all, explain what it is, because the name that they've named themselves is incorrect, right? So what is Citizens?
Well, Citizens is basically this actually, and remember you mentioned Andrew 1992, when nobody wants to insure risks down in our area because of, a lot of companies become insolvent during the Andrew era. FRPC JUA, which is the Florida Residential Property Underwriting Association, it's an association was created. They changed it later to the name of Citizens to make it simple, but still it's an association where we kind of like all belong to. And unfortunately, the more money that they pay, the more it's the same concept as the insurance company, but it's kind of like the last resort, because they have
that's terminology we always hear. It's
the least amount of coverage,
choice of last resort,
but at the same time is the one that you will say it will not never go under, basically, because a lot of companies will go, like we have 5 companies either like declare bankruptcy in the last, since February. Okay. So, which is and then all of these companies either being assumed by another carriers that are coming in, hoping they'll survive, which I hope they do. Okay. Or they've been written back to Citizens. And unfortunately, there's just not going to be enough adjusters if we do have a storm to be able to go out and adjust every single one of these claims. So this is going to be a huge disaster with Citizens, which is really meant to be for companies, like for risks that insurance companies didn't want. Now it's just become like the number one company, which is really, it's going to hurt us all. And that's why we're saying the rates are going to be even higher when you use Citizens.
What's shocking about our language and how we talk about it is that we say it's the choice of a last resort, yet it's the number one windstorm insurance carrier down here, right?
At this point, it is since February, since we had so many companies, bankrupt, and there's nobody wants to go bankrupt.
Of course not, especially me and you.
The insurance companies are here to make money. If they are not making money, they keep, and that's when it happens. Sometimes some people say they should have pulled out before, and then just go to another state that is less troubled than our state. But unfortunately, again,
it's troublesome. The industry has a lot of bumpy roads ahead, but you're saying overall you see the writing on the wall that things are going to improve.
I think so.
How many years did you estimate?
No, I personally think, the 2021, we're going to really see it by July 2023. I really
in the next 2 years,
yeah, because
we're going to see some relief. And hopefully insurance companies will see honest people. Is that what you think is
well,
going to
that's
happen?
basically our job as agents to
Yeah.
really be able to underwrite. Like we're the frontline
Yeah.
underwriters for insurance companies. I'm sorry, I keep looking.
That's okay. Look where you want to look.
We're the frontline underwriters, so
Yeah.
we have to do a better job at finding the right clients for the company so that we all can survive. The clients can survive, the insurance companies, and we all be, in a better position moving forward.
Okay. So thank you for this. Thank you for the article again. Current issue of the Miami of the Pinecrest Tribune. That's where I write.
Yes.
And before we go, why don't you remind people how they can get in touch with you to ask you insurance questions and hopefully to get some great insurance that they need.
Well, my office is located in Palmetto Bay, and the number for the office is 305-256-0616. I am always in and out of the office. I have a great staff, team members that they help me. Most of them, they've been with me for 8 years. My cell phone is, in my business card, in my website, 305-742-9266. I am very engaged in my business, but I cannot do it alone. I have a team of professionals that, I am basically, I cannot handle all this by myself. This is a teamwork, and we're super excited to be here for our community, really.
That's great.
So that's where.
Yet another great week on the show. I hope that you have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the MiamiHal Real Estate Show.
Bye.
Bye.